WYOO, Panama City, a Magic Broadcasting radio station. 101.1 FM.
We must stand up every day and catch the stories that others might miss.
And online with breaking news from Panama City.
There is a lot of that. You have the truth on your side.
This is NewsTalk at 101. Really refreshing.
Welcome to the Kramer Show, hour number 2. It's Tuesday. That means one thing. Scott Major from Major Peruis and the Storm Help Team joins us. If you got a question about post-Hurricane Michael, dial him up. 850-233-9988. Scott's been with us for now a year, and we've talked about insurance issues. We've talked about contractor issues. We've ran the gamut on just about anything and everything that could be going on. What is your situation? What's going on with you? Welcome to the show, Scott Major. What's up, bud?
Hey, pal. How you doing?
I am well. How is life in the world of Scott Major today?
It is wonderful. We continue to help people and to get recoveries. Almost every time I talk to you, I've got a bunch more people that we've gotten money for, and that's very exciting. It's nice that we're turning the corner and starting to get a lot of insurance companies to understand that it's better to pay the individual or the business owner than it is to sit there and litigate senselessly. So,
yeah,
it's a very exciting time.
Caller, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead. What's your question?
I have a question. What does it mean when an insurance company says they're underwritten? So when we initially went up with our insurance company and filed all of our claims, and we had to get a public adjuster, and months went by, and then we got a letter saying, well, we're not your insurance company. It's these underwriters, and now we have to restart from the beginning and go with the underwriters. Is that normal?
There are some companies like Lloyd's of London, for example, and other large insurance companies that will actually have other insurance companies underwrite. In other words, they'll just do the background, but they'll have other companies handle the claims. It's very unusual that a company would tell you that they have to start the process over because it's a different insurance company than what's listed on your insurance policy. So I'd have to see your specific situation. But there are a few companies, such as Lloyd's of London, that has a bunch of other companies who use their underwriting but write the insurance policy for them. So I'd have to see your specific policy. It's unusual. It's not very common, but there are situations like that. If they're telling you that they have to start all over again, I'd love to see what they did during the time that you asked them to investigate how long it took for them to do that and why they didn't tell you that immediately.
Yes, sir. I'm thoroughly confused because all my bills say one company, and in small letters underneath it says underwritten by, I won't say the name on air, such and such. And I just feel like maybe they're shifting my policy to a smaller company in case they have to fold or something. But I listen to your show every morning, so I understand that regardless, I'm covered even if the worst case scenario happens. And more so, I wanted to call in to thank you because I've been listening for the last year, and it sort of has armed me with the right questions to ask.
Are they just now getting
the people that are involved?
I'm sorry, that's fantastic of you to say that to Scott, and I concur. But are they just now getting back to you on that? Is this something that took them over a year to get back to you on, or to tell you
No, I ran the full gambit. I tried to deal. My house was on the water, and I lost, my siding, probably $250,000 worth of damage. And we started with they were only going to cover, 500 square foot of siding, 2 windows, 3 of my metal roof panels, and I thought I was pretty good at negotiating. I had no luck with the adjuster, so I went with a public adjuster. The public adjuster went high and right with his estimates, all the way down to loose tiles. And I have brick, obviously, and it's some of it's damaged, and that's very expensive. Well, the insurance company he could make no headway with the insurance company. he advised me not to go to the referee and to go to a lawyer. So for 6 months now, I've been with a lawyer, and the first interaction with the lawyer was, well, we filed the suit, and then 3 months later, we got a letter back from them saying that we are suing the wrong company and that it's the underwriter that is handling this claim. So now I'm in the stall pattern, which I would, waiting for a deposition to come in November. But again, I've been listening to your show, so I'm not in a panic mode. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be very patient. And but I also, in the back of my mind, I've been paying out of pocket just to get the house watertight. It's bothered me since that happened that I have one insurance company, and I feel like I've been handed off. I bought the insurance policy from the local agent here. And then when the hurricane came, they weren't a huge help. They're still nice people, and I have all my other insurance with them. But, they're not calling the insurance agency up saying, hey, pay this claim. So now I'm in a, sort of an armistice with the insurance company where, according to the logic, at some point they're going to settle. So does that make sense? I'm sure it does. You hear this every morning.
I mean, it's unusual for the insurance company not to notify you immediately if you have a different insurance company. It's unusual that you had a public adjuster and the public adjuster submitted it to the wrong, insurance company, or that the insurance company took a position which is different. That part's unusual, but you should be getting paid, and I'm very curious to understand why. And if you want to talk offline, just pick up a phone and call us, and we'll give you some free advice if you want that. One of the things before I let you go that I'd love to hear from you is, what do you like about what I've talked about over the past year? How do you think it's helped people, and what do you think are the good things that we've talked about that you think are the most empowering to listeners like yourself?
Well, definitely. Most of my information comes from my neighbors, and they all have different adjusters and different insurance companies, and you end up with a lot of urban legend and a lot of panic. At one point, all of our houses were going to have to be demolished because of new codes, and we've heard everything. Well, you should have your fences should be covered, or if they're attached to the house, they may be covered. And so just in listening, every morning I come home and I have not every morning, but at least twice a week, I have a new question that I go into my insurance policy, and I call up the folks who are supposedly representing me, and I basically pester them. Hey, this is what I heard, and I didn't hear it from a neighbor. I heard it from a professional on the radio. And they're all overwhelmed. A lot of my neighbors can't even get a hold of their public adjuster. They go weeks with no call returned. I think it's a math game for them. Once you have 20 or 30 clients in the area, whether that client gets $200,000 or $75,000 is a drop in the bucket. So having your radio station is sort of like a phone a friend kind of thing, which is what I'm doing today.
That's great stuff. Glad we're helping.
Yeah, you can tell he's listening, and I'll tell you too, caller. I get the same feeling. It's been a real learning opportunity with Scott being on the phone. There's so much to it. And I'm glad you called. And please feel free to call us anytime and hop on the air. And remember, Scott's number, if you want to reach out to him later, is 844-800-LAWS. 844-800-LAWS, okay?
And I will. Thank you both for your community service.
Thank you very much for the call.
Have a great day. Thanks a lot.
Have a great day. Bye.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with this whole deal. And people are, it's really interesting because people have different problems and things that you don't think about. And to learn about it is really fascinating. And I would assume that your time, both spent in law and on the other side in the insurance business, really gives you a head up, man.
It really does. There's a big difference between somebody who's been on the insurance side and understands some of the nuances and, someone who's just doing this because it's an opportunity, entrepreneurially, for them to make money. And I think, if you think about over the past year, how much education we've given people and how many people's lives have been changed for the better because we're giving this kind of thing, I think is really great and very empowering, very enriching, and it's just, being a good person. And I think that you've seen from the hundreds or thousands of people you've talked to, what a difference it makes when you got the right education so that you can take your claim and get paid. In a situation where I'm sure when you started this process and you and I talked about this, you just thought, hey, I'm just going to call my insurance company and they're going to write a check. Because, I bought insurance and I'm sure it covers all the items on my home or business.
Hey, caller, I'll get to you in a second. Do you remember, it was probably a month after the hurricane and you and I started talking on the air, and one of the things I kept mentioning was, I would talk to my neighbors, and it seemed, like that caller said, it seemed like everybody had a different opinion or idea or heard something different, and that's the best thing about having you on the air, as he said, to cut through all the stuff that you're hearing out there in the ether to get down to the actual facts. And when your neighbors are saying one thing and your friends and coworkers and everybody's saying a different thing, there's a lot of confusion that's been over the course of 1 year. Caller, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Yeah, I give a big credit to Scott. We're credited too. I don't know how much time it takes for him every morning, but I know he helped me with a good 50, 60 grand to get out. The last caller said it perfect. The urban legends from every other insurance agent through their clients to you is just a bunch of smoke and mirrors. And to get someone that's been in the industry on the radio is pretty much priceless. And he's helped me a lot personally. So I just want to give credit where credit's due. And I think you have him on the radio show.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
That's really great to hear.
It's Scott Major's fan club morning. So if
it's great to hear. I really want to make a difference. You know that, Kramer, and I really want to make a difference. And it's really great in such a difficult area and such a amazingly frustrating and upsetting area that we're able to make a difference like this with people. It's really cool.
Yeah, when I look, we had for a while we had public adjusters in, and I learned a lot about that through having public adjusters in, and it got to the point where the public adjusters would listen to your part of the show, and they would call me up, or they would, the next time that they were in, they would say, "Hey, how do I get in touch with Scott Major? Because I want to talk to him." I can't tell you how many of them did, and probably wound up going to you and you working with them. And by the way, we're not bashing public adjusters at all. There are good ones and there are bad ones, just like there are good and bad lawyers. Scott says that on the phone all the time. But at this point, it seems like in order to get something done, you're going to have to ultimately have a competent attorney like Scott Major on the case.
There's just no doubt that the learning experience for everyone has been amazing. And people have not only learned about claims and what to do to get money, but just as equally important is to learn about what insurance you need and how important it is that if you have a fence in the back of your yard, that your insurance actually covers that fence and doesn't exclude it because it's either attached or not attached or it's structured in a certain way, or if you have a pool or you have pavers or you have trees, that those things will be covered if, in fact, you need that kind of coverage. And if you don't, and if you don't have a pool, then you shouldn't pay for insurance to fix a pool. If you don't have a shed, you don't have a barn, you shouldn't have to pay to fix that. So it's really interesting, what you need to do in terms of understanding what insurance you should have. So,
got to take a break, but if you got a question, you want to hop on the air, you got a question for Scott Major from Major Peruis and the Storm Help Team. Phone number is 850-233-9988. 850-233-9988. I'll get you next.
We talk about what Panama City is talking about. More Kramer next on NewsTalk at 101. This is the Kramer Show. News Talk at 101.
Scott Major's with us from Major Peruis and the Storm Help Team. Going right to some phones. Let's go to Chris. Chris, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Scott a question. I'd called and left him a message a couple times, and I was just wondering how long you generally take to get back to him.
Immediately. We always get back to our people immediately, and if for some reason you're calling and you're not getting through, then when you call, you need to make sure you ask for either Scott Major or Brian Peruis and tell them to get a hold of me. My assistant's name is Amy, and Amy finds me no matter where I'm at. So if for some reason you're not getting through or there's some problem or whatever it is, then the next time you call when you hang up, you immediately say, listen, I need to speak with Scott or Brian, and if they say that for some reason we're in court or we're not available, you say, let me speak to Amy, who's there all the time, and Amy will then find me, wherever I'm at, and locate me. So that's what I would do if I were you.
Track him down. Let's go to Crystal. Crystal, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in for a second. I'm a licensed agent in Panama City, have been for the last 13 years, and people need to know that their agent should be their first point of contact. They don't want any of their funds, but they can assist you with getting in touch with your claims adjuster. They can assist you with help with your policy, what's covered, what's not covered. So they can help you any way that you need it. You just need to go to them with your questions. I'm not seeing a lot of that. I guess everybody just decides to run with a public adjuster or an attorney or whatever, but they sold you the policy, so they need to be your point of contact.
Scott, can you talk to that?
I'm sorry. Yeah, thanks very much for the call, because it's so refreshing to hear from an agent like you who cares about your clients so much that you are willing to go to bat for them. I can tell you that I couldn't agree with you more, that the first call you can make is to have your own agent who sold you the policy to help you to process that claim. I'll tell you that from the thousands of claims I've handled, a lot of times when people call their agents, the agents will give you the 1-800 number, and they don't want to be involved because they feel uncomfortable about taking a position against the insurance company. And so it is so heartwarming and wonderful to hear from people like you who will put your clients first and make sure that you help them in every way possible to not only make the claim, but to help them to understand what you sold them, the exact insurance policy contents, which is so helpful to people. So I thank you so much for your call, because it's refreshing and wonderful. And I encourage everyone to talk to their agent, to have their agent help them with the claim.
Absolutely. Me too.
Thank you, Crystal. Let's skip over to line 3. You're on the Kramer Show with Scott Major. Go ahead. Caller?
Yes.
You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, I got a question. I have the windows in my house are fogging up, and so I've talked to the insurance company, and they're sending the adjuster back out. The only thing is like during the morning when the sun's coming up, you can see that they're bad. But like and then as it moves to the back of the house, you can see. But like during the regular day, you can kind of see it, but it's not as noticeable. What do I need to do? I've tried to take pictures, but it's a little hard to take pictures of it.
Yeah, the best thing to do, and this is a common problem, so you're not alone, in that when you have positive and negative pressures that are moving that window framing back and forth during the storm, even though it's so small you can't really see it, that's creating some problems with the way in which the window is affixed, and so that window has clearly failed. The best things to do is, as you have done, try to take pictures, and if you can't, get a window engineer out there to do an inspection and write a report for you that says that those windows have failed, and you'll be amazed at how quickly the insurance company will pay. If you have any questions, dial the 844-800-LAWS number, 844-800-LAWS, and we can give you the names of some people who would be happy to go out and inspect your windows.
Okay, that's perfect. I sure appreciate it.
So
thanks a lot for the call.
Thank you. Back to the Crystal who called him, and she's an insurance agent. What are you? See, this is one area where I'm unclear what happens when something happens. And somebody has to file an insurance claim. They call the insurance agent. What happens on that end from there? Does the agent have a lot of control about what's happening and going on?
Yeah. So sure, let's talk about that. So when you call your agent to talk to them about the claim, that's not officially reporting the claim. You can't tell your agent about the claim and then consider it reported. You still have to call the insurance company. But what the agent can do, if you have agents like this, and there are not many of them, but if you have agents like that will go to bat for you, that's great. My experience has been, tragically, that agents are very reluctant to go to bat for you and fight for you because they feel like they're biting the hand that feeds them. They don't want to get involved with the insurance company for fear the insurance company is not going to sell them their product or what have you. And I'm just telling you, anecdotally, from so many claims that I've handled, that I see that often. And I constantly say that the insurance agent should be the biggest fighter for you. And when you get a claim, if you call that agent, they should go to bat for you. Now, do they have much control? Well, they don't have a lot of control any more than anybody else. But on the other hand, the insurance company knows, if they're a good agent, that they're selling hundreds or thousands of policies, and they want to make sure all of their clients and customers are taken care of. So the agent can have a lot of power, and the brokerage, that is the agency that may have a bunch of agents, can have a lot of power with the insurance company because they're selling them products. So I'm always a fan of getting your insurance agent involved and trying to get them to help you. It's just often difficult to get them to help you. That's why when I hear people say, hey, you should call the agent, I'll help you, that's just wonderful because they're the people who sold you the policy. They're the ones who know exactly what's covered under your policy. They're the people who can call the insurance company and say, hey, I sold them this policy to cover that fence for the very reason why they're calling now. You need to pay them. They're a wonderful client who's paid premiums for 15 years or 35 years. They haven't made a claim, and now they're making a claim. So you need to pay them. And oftentimes you'll get a good result.
Well, that's nice to hear. I always, when we first started talking about this months and months ago, we just kind of skipped that little part of the whole process. And so I'm glad she called in because that's an interesting point. 850-233-9988 to get on the air with Scott Major from Major Peruis and the Storm Help Team. If you got a question or comment, 850-233-9988. I'll be back.
This is the Kramer Show on Panama City's information station, NewsTalk at 101. NewsTalk at 101 in Kramer. Live and local in the mornings.
Scott Major joins us today. Scott Major from Major Peruis and the Storm Help Team. You got a question? He would be more than delighted to take it. Absolutely free. How about that? Hey, we should start charging per call. 57 cents per call. I'll split it with you. No? 850-233.
Yeah, all the money going to donuts.
That's it. Let's go to Debbie. Debbie, you're up with Scott Major. Hello, good morning.
Hi. I've got a good question, I think, that I haven't heard the answer to. I am leaning towards appraisal and waiting for a few things to be at the state looking at my claim and trying to determine why things went so wrong through the process. And so the public adjuster threw up their hands basically with a very low amount that was offered. And so now I'm thinking about going to appraisal. Have you ever known of it to like backfire on somebody and it not, what I need is to fix my home. And I'm just trying to get the money the best way I can. And so appraisals are kind of a scary thing. Can you help me with that?
Sure. I'm not sure what you're asking. Are you saying should you go to appraisal? Is that the question? Or did I misunderstand you?
Yeah, basically. Mm-hmm.
Well, appraisal, which is a procedure that is unique to insurance in that it provides a mechanism for people to avoid going to court by having independent appraisers essentially appraise your property and come up with a fair number. The advantage to appraisal is that it is generally a faster process than litigation because you immediately have your own appraiser meet with their appraiser. You each pick your own. And you have them meet in a short period of time, 30, 60, 90 days, and you get it resolved. The disadvantage of appraisal is that you have to pay for your own appraiser, which is usually by the hour or on some sort of contingency basis. Additionally, the appraiser who works for the insurance company is oftentimes extremely loyal to the insurance company, and so they generally lowball or undervalue the claim, and you end up with less than you would normally get in a litigation environment. I suggest to everyone that unless your claim is a total loss or it is so obvious that you have damage, that you immediately litigate the matter when the insurance company isn't paying, because in Florida, you have the ability to recover attorney's fees if you win $1. This motivates the insurance company to pay sooner rather than later and motivates them to pay the most money, because if you fail to pay timely, then over time you can resolve your claim and also get your attorney's fees paid. The second important thing to know about this is that oftentimes when you have a lawyer, the insurance company will more immediately respond, ironically, rather than waiting. So this myth about if I hire a lawyer it's going to take forever is absolute nonsense. There are situations that the insurance company will sometimes want to litigate the case, but they're litigating at their own peril because there could be a big attorney's fee judgment assessed against them. Either way, whether you go to appraisal or you go to court, if the insurance company has not timely and seasonably paid, or if they have been determined to be unreasonable in the way in which they handled your claim, you can still sue them for bad faith and get multiple amounts of the amount of damages, 1, 2, 3 times the amount, if the insurance company is found to have acted improperly. So hopefully that helps.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sure. Have a great day, and call us if you need us.
Thank you for the call, Debbie. To get in touch with Scott and Brian Peruis and Scott Major, 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS. Caller, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Hey, Scott, this is Uncle John. That's for.
How you doing, pal?
Anyway, here's my question or situation. When I had a tree on my house that had hit my Florida room, it's a big screened-in porch, and on one end, and it had broken about 5 2x4s on one end, and I had a roofer come out to give me an estimate on roofing the house. He was a general contractor, and he took one look at that, and it was just one end of the Florida room, and he said, I can't touch that. It needs a structural engineer. And he said, and that'll be about $1,500. And I said, well, I can put 5 2x4s back up there and make it just like new. And he said, well, he certainly wasn't going to put people up there on that roof to fix it. So I fixed it very simply, didn't give him the job and hired somebody else. Does that make any sense?
Well, sure. There are situations where, you can fix your own property. I commonly tell people that the best thing to do is to have, the insurance company come out, and if they don't give you a satisfactory adjustment, in other words, if their estimate is different from your estimate from somebody who is viable and reputable, then you can go ahead and either make a claim by filing a suit or make a complaint if they're not timely paying. But in the end, the most important thing, if you want to recover the maximum amount of money, is to have a detailed estimate from a reputable person or set of people, because you may have a general contractor or a public adjuster, but you may also, in certain situations, need an engineer so that the insurance company will pay full value, because sometimes the structural integrity of a home can be compromised, and just making a repair to it may not sufficiently fix the property so that a subsequent insurance company will want to insure you. So you just have to be sensitive to that. In your case, if you're able to fix it on your own, that's great, and you're able to get compensated for the time, that's fantastic. But it's always important to try to get good engineering or good public adjuster or general contractor estimates to document your damages by an independent source.
Well, thank you for that information. I think my point was it was such a simple thing to do that, and this guy was like, oh no, I'm not touching it. I said, well, good grief. So anyway, they didn't get the roofing job, and I did a probably 2-hour very fine repair. So I wasn't worried about it.
That's great.
Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the phone
Sure,
call.
good luck to you.
850-233-9988. Caller, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Morning, guys. It's Jim. I'm a client of Scott's, but I do have a question for him. If my insurance company is being sued, okay, they were served on 3 October. They apparently have 20 days to my knowledge. And now, is that 20 days to respond or just 20 days to review, and what happens after the 20 days?
So in other words, once you file suit, the law prescribes that they have 20 days with which to review the complaint and either pay or admit that the certain allegations that you made are true and deny others, or they can deny them all. And then once that happens, the next step is the court will set a trial date. That is a date for you to get a jury to listen to your claim. That's usually anywhere between 3 and 9 months out. But what happens is once you file the suit, we'll usually get a call from the opposing, counsel or from the adjuster for the insurance company, who will ask us either one, for a demand of a certain amount, or alternatively, they will decide to defend. And if they do at their own peril, because if your claim is valid, then every day that they wait is a potential problem for them, because they may have to pay you and their own lawyer and me. So that's a hefty price to pay unless they're sure.
All righty. The other issue, one other quick question, if I may. Let's say we have to go ahead and settle it, and we do settle it, and we have to repair the house now. I have a friend of mine, his house, and they had to gut it and then put up drywall and get the mold out and all that. And those big ceiling fans have been running for 24/7 for weeks. His electric bill was $1,200 in 1 month.
Wow.
Is that covered anywhere under your insurance policy?
If you have damages that naturally flow from the problem, so if you had to increase your electric bill in order to compensate you, the answer is generally yes. You can get that as a consequential damage. Sometimes insurance policies will exclude certain things, but as a general rule, if it's typical and naturally flowing from the loss, the insurance company will generally have to pay. I just caveat that statement because it depends on the specific policy of each person. But I would make a claim if I were them.
I understand. All right. Appreciate you, Scott. You guys have a good one. Thanks, Kramer.
Thank you, bud. Appreciate it very much. So back to just a question I had as he was asking you. If you're going to file suit and then they have 20 days to respond, how do they... Who are they supposed to contact? Did you say the attorney, like their attorney, the insurance company's attorney has to contact you? None of that really falls on the person, right?
Right. Once we conclude the claim, you don't have to speak to anyone because we're responsible for speaking to them. And under the court rules, when we file anything, they have a duty to respond directly to us. So when you get a lawyer, for all your listeners, you shouldn't have to worry about another phone conversation with anyone. Now, there are circumstances under which I will say to the adjuster, hey, we may need you to speak to the insured, to the client, because there may be some additional information you need. But except for those rare situations, they always deal with me. 100% of the time.
See, that's, again, we talk about how refreshing it is to be able to hand it off and just say, hey, run with it. And that's just another part. And if they don't contact you within those 20 days, and I think he mentioned, when did he say, the 3rd? So let's say that tomorrow on the 20th day, you don't hear anything back from the insurance company. Does that give you leverage?
Yes. So on day 21, that is the next day after they're due, I can easily file a piece of paper with the court that requests the court to summarily determine that the insurance company is liable. So they don't answer. There's a big price to pay when people don't respond. So you generally get a response from the lawyers for the insurance company.
And then so upon hearing back, is that when you pick up the phone and contact the client?
Yes. What will happen is when we get that back, if there's something eventful, in other words, if the insurance company just denies that they have liability, then we're in the same position we were before, but now the court is setting a trial for the matter. So we'll just proceed forward and we'll take depositions. In other words, we'll put the insurance company under oath and we'll ask them, what is the problem? Did you know there was a storm that hit the Panhandle? And if you did, what is the name of that storm? Because if you knew the name Michael, you would know that it was devastating and crushing, and only a village idiot would recognize that you need to pay substantial amounts of money for the damages that occurred. So if there's a reason why you're not paying, I sure in heck want to know what that reason is. And you're going to have to testify under oath why it took you a year to explain that to me and to the client. So it becomes a world of problems for the insurance companies that have unreasonably failed to pay. There may be situations where there are defenses, as you and I spoke about, where you might have, let's say, a fence that's not covered. It's not your fault. You didn't know that your agent was an idiot and didn't properly insure you for the fence that you had. But the bottom line is there are oftentimes defenses. Or sometimes you hire a public adjuster and they make a claim for all kinds of things, and not every one of them is really covered. And so as a result, what happens is the insurance company says, we're not going to pay the entire amount of money. We're only going to pay some of the money. And until you adjust your claim, we're not just categorically going to pay you. So there are just situations that, to me, once you get a lawyer involved who knows what they're doing, results in tremendous benefits to you.
Got to take a break, but if you got a question for Scott, 850-233-9988, or you can contact them directly, 844-800-LAWS. More to come.
Smoke 'em if you've got 'em. Kramer will be back. News Talk at 101.
It's the Kramer Show. It's News Talk at 101. Scott Major with us today. We may have set the record today for the most phone calls in one show. That's a good thing, and that tells me that there's still thirst out there for people to call up and that people are listening to you and they have questions. Let's go to John. John, you're on the Kramer Show with Scott Major. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Major. If an insurance company puts an offer on the table, your final payment, so to speak, and you haven't even gotten a contractor's price to put your house back into a healthy condition, I was everything I could do to get a roof put on within a year, and they tell you to take it by a certain time, or, it's on the table, or leave it. It's time to go get a lawyer, isn't it?
The answer is yes. And the biggest takeaway from all of this is for everyone to understand you're entitled to every dollar under your insurance policy. You're not entitled to more, but you're entitled to the amount of money which it costs to fix something. It's not what it costs to put a roof on in Minnesota. It's what it costs to put a roof on in Panama City when there is a serious supply and demand problem.
Yep.
So yes, get a lawyer involved. Be smart about this.
Yeah, that's what I thought you'd say. You'd probably say it's immoral and fattening for them to say that. Thank you, sir.
Well, it's just so important that people need to understand exactly what a lawyer can do for them and how you can better understand how much quicker you get paid when you have the right kind of lawyer helping you.
Yeah, and let's also say, just for the record, that nobody wants to take advantage. Nobody's trying to take advantage of the insurance company. But when it's turned around and the insurance company is trying to take advantage of you, no. After you've paid you've been loyal to the insurance company for what it's worth over the many years, and for them to come back and say, "Nah, we'll wait around. We're going to go back and forth and back and forth." Well, people are hurting here. One final before the break, probably before the end of the hour. Caller, you're up with Scott Major. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. You always mention about getting your windows inspected. Who do you call for that? There's not like a listing in the phone book.
That's correct. So you want to have either an engineer or somebody who specializes in window inspections. And if you have any questions about that, dial the 844-800-LAWS, 844-800-LAWS, and what will happen is we can tell you names of people who will do those inspections for you so that you know what you're doing.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Are any of the bigger vendors like Home Depot and that places like that? Don't they do that? Don't they do some inspections?
There are bigger companies that will provide you with inspectors, but the most important thing for you when you're with the insurance company and trying to prove, you want to get somebody who has a good reputation, who's done it a lot. So if you have questions, dial the 844-800-LAWS number, and we'll give you some suggestions on people that can help you to get the proper inspection done.
To get in touch with Scott Major and Brian Peruis off the air, I'll give you their phone number, okay? 844-800-LAWS. 844-800-LAWS. And you can also hook up with them on Facebook at Major Peruis, which is MAGERPARUAS. Major Peruis, and on Twitter at Major Peruis Law. A lot of good calls, fantastic show, and a lot of killer information. Thank you so much, Scott, for another fantastic hour, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for all you do, and have a wonderful day, pal.
All right, there he is. He's a rock star. Scott Major from Major Peruis and the Storm Help Team. Hour number 3 is coming up. Stand by.
looking for a haven of sanity. The Kramer Show in the morning, every day from 6 until 9. News Talk at 101.